Welcome to Witnesses to Happiness. I am so glad you're here with me for this explainer. Go ahead and take a deep, clearing breath and just settle into a nice, calm, meditative space. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating tool for self-discovery, the Minor Arcana. You know, a lot of times these 56 cards kind of get a bad rap. They're misunderstood as just lesser or secondary to the rest of the deck. But as we're going to see, they are absolutely anything but. I just love this quote on the screen. The Minor Arcana are the chroniclers of human experience. It perfectly captures their true essence. Because, well, while the Major Arcana handles those heavy, cosmic, karmic lessons, the grand spiritual evolution of our lives, the Minor Arcana? They give flesh, blood, and nuance to all those abstract concepts. They are the chroniclers of our everyday habits, our fleeting emotional reactions, our little intellectual conflicts, and our material reality. They literally offer us the specific nuances and concrete action steps we need for our daily lives, our careers, and our relationships.
I want you to hold on to a specific thought as we move through our journey today. The cards speak. Are you listening? I invite you to really open your intuition right now. Allow the structured wisdom we're about to explore to connect deeply with your own inner voice.
Okay, let's start with Section 1, the fabric of daily life.
To truly get these cards, we actually have to trace them back to their incredibly humble roots. They started out as a 15th century Italian card game. And when you look at that history, you see that the structure of the Minor Arcana directly mirrors the modern playing card deck you probably have sitting in a drawer somewhere. Historians actually believe these 4 original suits represented the medieval social classes. So wands were the workers and farmers, cups were the clergy, swords represented the nobility and military, and pentacles, or coins, stood for the merchants. And this is so brilliant, because it explains exactly why these suits mean what they do today. That original social DNA still informs them. Wands still speak of our ambition and labor. Cups talk about our spirituality and deep emotion. Swords reflect conflict and power. And pentacles? They're all about our material wealth and earthly circumstances.
So let's look at how that history evolved into the beautiful imagery we recognize today. For a really long time, decks like the Tarot de Marseille used these very abstract geometric pip cards. For example, the 4 of coins was literally just a drawing of 4 coins. It required a ton of heavy memorization to read. But then, in 1910, Pamela Colman Smith, working with Arthur Edward Waite, completely revolutionized everything. She illustrated every single card with a scenic, deeply evocative image. Think of a man nervously clutching his gold, right? This literally democratized the tarot. It turned the images into intuitive memory aids and made deep, reflective reading totally accessible to everyone. Moving on to Section 2, 4 elements, 4 mirrors. The deeper meaning of the Minor Arcana really unlocks when we start viewing them through the 4 classical elements. Think of these elements as literal mirrors reflecting our own psychological states. First up, we have the wands, which represent fire. Fire is expansive, it's unpredictable, and it is driving. Picture sparks, blazing fires, and beautiful sunrises. This is the suit of your raw life energy and your creative passion. Wands don't stop to ask, hey, how does it feel? No, they ask, where are we going and what can we build? Now, contrasting those active wands are the cups, governed by water. This is the whole realm of feeling. Water is formable, deep, and incredibly healing, though sometimes it can feel a bit unfathomable. It represents our inner life, our deep capacity for empathy, and the beautiful, receptive world of our relationships. And you know, just as water adapts perfectly to the shape of whatever vessel holds it, our emotions adapt to our everyday experiences. Next, we have the swords, representing the element of air, which correlates directly to our thinking. Air is invisible, right? But it moves literally everything. This is often seen as a pretty difficult suit because it deals with the invisible intellect, cold logic, and, well, inevitable conflict. Our mind constantly analyzes, which literally translates to cut apart. And in doing so, it frequently creates the exact conflicts it is desperately trying to solve. It is absolutely the double-edged sword of our own awareness. Finally, we ground ourselves in the pentacles, representing earth. This is our psychological sensation. Earth is beautifully slow, stable, and fruitful. The pentacles act as this wonderful, stabilizing anchor of the tarot. They honor our physical reality, the slow, satisfying yield of hard work, our health, and the sensual world around us. That brings us to Section 3, the path of the numbers. So, when we combine those 4 elements with the numbers 1 through 10, we get this truly beautiful, unfolding path of energy. The journey always begins with the aces, the ones. Now, these aren't results, they're seeds of pure potential, the very initial spark of an idea or feeling. Moving to the twos, that potential meets reality. That creates duality and need for balance and, of course, choices. By the threes, we start to see actual growth and synthesis. Something totally new is being born from that duality. And then, when we finally reach the fours, the energy solidifies into real stability and structure. It feels safe, kind of like a newly built foundation, though, to be honest, it does run the risk of becoming a little stagnant. And to break that stagnation, the fives arrive to introduce some necessary conflict and crisis, essentially the growing pains of life. But don't worry, because this chaos eventually resolves into the sweet harmony and healing of the sixes. Then, the sevens require us to take a breather, pause, and really evaluate our strategy. That leads directly into the focused movement and the mastery of the eights. The nines then bring us to this amazing peak of individual fulfillment. And finally, the tens represent ultimate completion. The energy here is so saturated, so full, that the cycle simply has to end, immediately giving birth to a brand new ace. Section 4, Masks of the Soul. Now, way beyond those numbered paths, we encounter the 16 court cards. A lot of people think these are mysterious strangers coming to predict your future, but they really aren't. They are archetypes. They are actually the masks of your very own unfolding personality. Regardless of which deck you use, this family beautifully reflects your own spiritual maturity. So the pages are kind of the earthly children of the tarot. They're curious beginners and eager messengers. The knights bring the fire. They are the impulsive, highly action-oriented, sometimes slightly extreme teenagers. The queens are water. They internalize energy, nurturing, preserving, and deeply understanding things from within. And finally, the kings are air. They externalize that energy, acting as the structuring forces that boldly command and shape the world around them. Together, they represent the completely natural, different stages of mastery within ourselves. Let's move into Section 5, Embracing the Shadow Cards. As we look deeply into these mirrors, we inevitably have to face the shadow cards. And look, it is completely natural to feel a little ping of fear when drawing certain cards. But I invite you to just take a meditative pause right here with me. Let's reframe these darker reflections. Traditionally, cards like the Three of Swords, the Ten of Swords, or the Five of Pentacles evoke these massive fears of ruin, heartbreak, or intense poverty. But constructive wisdom offers us a much gentler, truer light. The Three of Swords isn't just pain. It's the necessary, clarifying synthesis of our thoughts and feelings. It is a clearing storm. And that highly dramatic Ten of Swords, it just tells you that you have hit rock bottom. It's over. You literally cannot fall any further, and the only way left to go is up. It is actually a deeply liberating end to a very painful mental cycle. And the Five of Pentacles? More often than not, it is just a gentle, loving call to overcome your pride. Simply look up and accept the help that is glowing warmly right nearby. Section 6, Intuition over Fortune Telling. This brings us to a really vital shift in our understanding. We absolutely must move away from what the cards fatalistically predict and instead embrace what they reveal. Critics will often point to the Barnum effect, our tendency to find deeply personal meaning in vague statements, and they frame it as a flaw. But actually, in modern psychological tarot work, this is its absolute greatest feature. The evocative imagery acts as this incredibly safe psychological Rorschach test. Whatever you see in the cards is a pure projection of your own inner truth. It allows you a safe space to reveal hidden shadows and suppressed desires to yourself without judgment. However, we do have to walk this path with our eyes open. There are definite risks if we lose our grounding here. For instance, we really have to guard against oracle addiction, where we end up surrendering our own personal agency to make decisions. We also need to completely reject the nocebo effect, where fatalistic readings create actual real-world anxiety and stress. We have to steer clear of spiritual bypassing, which is when we only focus on the positive cards to ignore hard, necessary realities in our lives. And honestly, we must be real with ourselves and avoid confirmation bias, pulling card after card until we finally get the answer our ego desperately wants. Never, ever surrender your own sacred agency to just cardboard and ink. Ultimately, these 78 cards are just ink and paper until your intuition breathes life into them. They are tools meant to empower you, to help you navigate this complex modern life, and to rewrite your own narrative. The cards speak. Are you listening?
Are you truly ready to listen to yourself? Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful, meditative space with me in this explainer today. Trust your intuition and walk your path with a courageous heart.